Allyship. The question of who is an ally or who qualifies to be an ally is like it's a it's a question that maybe has not fully been answered, because you find all forms of allies. You know, some are strategic, some for the moment allies, some are in it for to appease this person and that person. So allyship uh, comes in so many forms. But I know for a fact that within the coalition of the 50 organizations, like as I said, the majority of whom were LGBT organizations, but others were non-LGBT organizations. We were able to find, those allies that stood by us. So to have an individual, an organization that stands with you for 5 years, and you're able to sustain that allyship despite the constant backlash, right? It's like if you imagine if I'm an ally, right? I'm an ally, and I have to face the same backlash as you do within your identity, right? I may be able to sustain that allyship, but it's not that same kind of life and death situation as it is for you, who is being directly targeted, right? So I would first of all like to commend the steadfast allies we had within the coalition, including at least 3 individual allies. One was from Parliament, Foxodoy. The other one was from academia. What was the other one? Okay, I'll just mention those 2. One was from academia, the other was from Parliament. And these individuals, the reason why I call them steadfast is that they went as far as being part of the petition, or the constitutional petition against the anti-homosexuality law. So to find those kind of steadfast allies does take work. Individuals that brought people together under the coalition. It wasn't easy. The coalition didn't come up. It did not come up in one day. There was a lot of work that was put into building, making a case for why other non-LGBT individuals or organizations who are not facing life and death situations, for non-LGBT individuals or allies, for non-LGBT individuals to be kind of not trained. You can't train an ally, right? But for non-LGBT individuals or organizations to declare that they are allies to the LGBT community in such a way that would put them at probably the same risk as LGBT individuals was not easy. We can't take it for granted. But sustaining this allyship, as I said before, is difficult, right? It's difficult. You get raided. Your offices. Some of our allies, their offices were raided. Some of them, had so many other effects with both their personal and professional lives. Others had their organizations closed down, but there was also increased scrutiny within these non-LGBT organizations. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that there were consequences to allies, or to declaring that you're an ally to the LGBT community, or that you're stepping out of the crowd to be part of history as having fought the anti-homosexuality law, or stepping out of the crowd to publicly say you stand with LGBT individuals and you stand for LGBT rights. So people might say within this period, like where are our allies? But our allies are there. You know, they are within their spaces. They are speaking out against this law. You might not hear them publicly because sometimes it's not the right time. You know, especially if what we are reading in the papers, it's, you know, it gets exhausting to speak out against information that is not evidence based. You know, if you're kind of stooping to a level as an ally where you respond to anything, you have to be strategic. You know, there's a lot of non-evidenced falsehoods within the media right now, and I know as chapter 4, and we have demonstrated that we are an ally to the community as an institution, as an organization, because our ED was one of the lead councils in the constitutional petition, right? So, and we've had our fair share of backlash, okay, but we, maybe perhaps because of our learnings in the past, you can't fight against everything. So I know some allies are biding their time, but there's a lot of background work or in-camera work that is going behind the scenes to stop, if you can, to stop any form of anti-gay law from being introduced, or even from being introduced in Parliament. So I can relay that specific fear from the community and say, yes, there's a lot of work that is being done in the background, and to assure you that those steadfast allies will be there publicly and show their face when the time is right. And at a personal level, I'm a founder of a support group, or a passion project, of what I call a passion project, under the Equality and Non-Discrimination program that I head at Chapter 4. And it involves parents of LGBT individuals. It's called Parents, Families of Lesbian and Gay Individuals in Uganda. And that was very strategic on my part, because, again, I understood from coordinating the coalition, or co-coordinating the coalition, that there's a lot of value in having allies, in someone who stands with you, not before you, not for you, but with you, and speaks truth, or helps defend the rights, that helps defend your human rights. So I understood the power. I saw it firsthand within the coalition, the power of having allies, and how that can really save you in life and death situations. We had, I think the reason why some of us as activists are not in jail, right, is because of the allies that we had, right? It's because of the international attention that is on Uganda. It's very rare for a country to be so high-handed in punishing innocent individuals if there's a lot of attention on a country, okay? So I realized the importance of allies, and I felt like, well, I understood that one person that can always stand for you as an individual, or a unit that can always stand for you is family, right? Or at least there's an assumption that family, parents, siblings are the people that we can go to when the rain is falling on our heads, right, for shelter. So I understood that we needed to give parents of LGBT individuals a space, first of all, to understand their experiences, individual experiences, like what does it mean to be a parent of an LGBT individual? Because I think as LGBT individuals, we have um, kind of answered that question. Right? Once you come out or you're outed, you have a process to go through to understand what it means to be an LGBT individual in this country. But we hadn't given space for parents to go through the same. Because I understand when I come out or when I was outed in the red paper, my parents, just specifically my mom, had her own coming out story or her own coming out process, and it was very confusing and scary, right? So I wanted to provide a safe space, a support system that could help other parents whose children have been outed or whose children come out, adult children, by the way, whose adult children come out, that they can have a safe space to have those same conversations of what it means to be a parent of an LGBT individual. Although my hope is that these parents can stand with us and I don't want to say I want them to be allies, because again, that is something you own, right? But what I hope for with PFLAG Uganda is that we have a group of individuals that will stand up and say, I love my child. No one in this country can speak out against a parent who says, I love my child as they are. Right? Because it's not political. Loving your child is not political. Okay. So I want to believe that PFLAG Uganda will give space where LGBT individuals and their parents can reconcile, have dialogue, but hopefully stand with us as Ugandans when the time is right. Although the time is now, but yeah, I'm aware of the process that people go through to become allies. So I'm excited about the potential of what our parents can do, because like I said, no one can speak out against or even question a parent's love for their child. Activism in Uganda. My advice for activists, both those who identify as activists or those even who don't know are activists, all right, is to, number one, understand the law, right? Understand the law. You need to understand the environment, right? Understand the legislature, how it works, parliament, how parliament works, understand how government works, understand the history of LGBT organizing in this country, but also talk to other activists, right? If you have a passion to defend LGBT rights, or you're feeling that you don't want to be silent for whatever reason, call an activist, speak to an activist, even if they have left the country. Reach out to an activist and have a conversation with them. Like, I want to do this, but how have you done it before, right? I think the best learning activists can do, I wouldn't like to say they are young breed activists. An activist is an activist, whatever age you are, right? So whatever form of activism you want to embrace, or you want to bring, talk to other activists, whether they are, like I said, whether they're in Uganda or not. Reach out to one and pick their brains, learn from them, learn from the coalition, learn from the different ally organizations that we can name. There are not many, right? But learn from there. If you belong to a non-LGBT organization and you want to do something, you know, there's a lot of case studies. There's a lot of wealth of knowledge from activists that have done this before or continue to do this before that we can learn from. So I think that would be my biggest advice. But also, my other form of advice would be, I think I had mentioned it earlier, activism is not just being political, okay? Activism is in not remaining silent when your colleague at work is bashing gay people. Okay, you must speak out against hate in whatever ecosystems you are in this moment. Right? Activism is refusing to conform, and I'm not saying don't conform. People conform for different reasons, right? But for yourself, refusing to conform to people's standards of who you should be, understanding that it benefits everyone but you, right? Understand and resist that conformity, right? But also figure out ways to be safe while doing it. If you don't feel safe speaking out against this homophobic colleague, if you're going to lose your job, then, you know, remain silent and figure out more, I guess, meaningful ways to make sure this individual is curtailed. Go to the human resource officer, right? Like, you can be smart about how you kind of carry out your form of activism. Okay, so it's important to remain safe. I've always told people a dead activist is not a good activist. Right? And we're not trying to be martyrs. Personally, I'm not trying to be a martyr. Okay, so we have to be smart about how we do activism, right? But also, activism is in embracing who you are. It's in refusing to let the hate, the lies, the falsehoods kind of strip away the essence of who you are. Because at the end of the day, even if they're legislating against you, you remain who you are. And I think the best form of activism for me at a personal level is to accept who you are, or at least learn to accept who you are, considering all the negative rhetoric around you. I think it's a powerful form of activism. And also, you know, dare to love your person, dare to not reject your relationships because of fear and the negativity that we're seeing, that we have seen before, but we continue to see. So yeah, we have many forms of activism, but I would encourage those identifying as activists, or those, I don't know, whatever form of activism it is, do it in a way that you keep as safe as possible, but mostly embracing who you are, because no one can take that away. And that's what we're telling MPs. We're like, yeah, you're legislating, but this anti-gay law did not change who I am. I'm still a lesbian. I did not change. I did not change to heterosexuality after that law was passed. Right? So these laws don't change who we are, even though they seem to want that. But you can't change someone's sexual orientation.